Hello and welcome back to Lorehammer. I'm your host, Mark, and joining me today we got Gerald. Welcome.
Hello.
You're here to join me on the battery bust. Man, we did not make it far last night. Thanks.
Let's break the record tonight.
Yeah.
It ended pretty quick last night.
Yeah. There was a huge lineup of call-ins, including yourself there, Lupacol, who is also joining us tonight, who just didn't even come close to making it.
No.
Yeah, but that was pretty fun either way. We got another battery bust. So tonight we're doing a listener lore, actually. So we got 3 short stories that the listeners have written, and we're going to read through them. And then we're just going to do some call-ins and chat till, those solar grid batteries bust. Some people have asking if they can donate to the cause. You're definitely more than welcome to. I think my batteries arrive tomorrow, so you'd really just be feeding my Warhammer fund addiction as opposed to buying me batteries, but I'll take your money either way. So there's links in the description below. Join the Patreon, all that kind of fun stuff. But I think let's just get right into reading some stuff here.
Alrighty, we're back to my bread and butter of Lorehammer because this is what got me started.
Yes. The master of voices, Gerald. Lay it on me. Take me to a faraway world.
Let's see here. What voice am I doing tonight? Let's see here. Dark Watch chapter lore. This seems like a Wikipedia entry almost. Yeah. All right. If there's any quotations, I'll do something. In the year 999 M41, on the border of the eastern fringe lies the hive world of Cantor 7, a relatively small mining population of 9 billion. Sorry. A relatively small
little
population.
Place. Yeah.
Small little outpost. The wars of the Imperium have left this planet untouched for many generations. During a routine excavation, a group of miners came across a strange obelisk made of onyx-colored stone. When approached, the obelisk came alive, revealing glowing green hieroglyphs that emanated an unnatural field of energy and enveloped every human in the immediate vicinity, putting them into an immobile, catatonic state. I like where this is going. The field was slowly growing, and the remaining miners fled back to the city of Traxia. The governor of K7, hearing the news and not wanting an incident, sent a message to the Administratum for further guidance. A detachment of Astra Militarum was sent to investigate the obelisk and assess the situation. They reported further activity from the artifact, but soon transmissions from the planet ceased. During the coming weeks, strange signals started emanating from K7, and eventually a Xenos beacon began emitting out from the planet, alerting any who were listening. The Inquisition picked up the signal, and Inquisitor Dakota Labe took over the investigation. Fearing a Xeno infestation, she contacted the Ordo Xenos and requested a company of Deathwatch to be sent to Cantor 7 to eliminate any Xeno threat and contain the artifact. Dakota and the Deathwatch headed for K7 aboard the Zealot's Flame, an Imperial battlecruiser. The Deathwatch company commander Heraclius Halber of the Black Templars briefed of his fellow Space Marines on their mission, preparing them for a fast insertion to the planet by drop pod. All scan attempts en route to K7 were being blocked. They would be entering the system blind. As the Zealot's Flame exited the warp into real space, a massive space battle was taking place in the skies above Cantor 7. Orc, Eldar, and Tyranid ships were tearing into each other in the most spectacular display of destruction. "Suffer not the aliens to live!" shouted Heraclius before ordering all batteries to open fire on the Xenos scum. The space battle would last days, leaving multiple ships crippled and a debris field surrounding the planet. "Target the remaining threats! We finish this battle, then we retake the surface!" cried Heraclius. Before the targeting systems could lock on, Librarian Soren Blythe began to reel in pain, gripping his head as he sensed something wrong. Suddenly, space erupted and reality tore all around them. A massive warp storm emerged, blasting warp energy and disabling the remaining ships, sending them careening toward the planet below. This warp storm would become known as the Cicatrix Maledictum, or the Great Rift, which would split the galaxy and the Imperium in half. Ooh! Right as all that was going on, All hands aboard the Zealot's Flame took to the drop pods and abandoned ship. The various ships crashing left destruction across the surface of Cantor 7. The survivors of the drop regrouped near the wreckage of the Zealot's Flame and established a beachhead amidst the Xenos forces. They fought back and repelled wave after wave of Xeno assault, never faltering their line. The shadow of the rift slowly grew, and the days began to darken until Cantor 7's sun was blocked out, sending the entire planet into an endless darkness. Even with the loss of the starlight, the flames of war illuminated the darkness, attracting another threat. Demons began to appear, pouring out from the surrounding warp storm, inviting even more death and chaos to K7. The skirmishes brought destruction across the whole planet, turning it into a battle world. With no hope of reinforcements in sight, Inquisitor Dakota and Commander Heraclius ordered the survivors to move into the depths of Traxium. The unit made their way through heavy fighting, gathering ammo, resources, and survivors along the way. Apothecary Cantorus Angelo made sure any fallen Astartes bodies were collected so the gene seed could be extracted for future use. The continuing fight would not stop anytime soon, and more Astartes would be needed to battle the onslaught of Xenos and demonic forces. The weeks turned to months, and the unit would soon choose to become a new chapter. Heraclius Halber would become the new Watchmaster, leading this new chapter and shining the light of the Imperium upon the darkness of Cantor 7, baptizing the planet in holy fire, destroying the Xeno and demon threat wherever it may hide. This chapter would become known as the Dark Watch, adopting the motto Ut producat tenebras, or in Low Gothic, to bring light to the darkness. The chapter would fortify a mining facility deep within Traxium, making it their new home. From here, they would strike and take back Cantor 7 for the Imperium, but soon the obelisk that drew so many to K7 would finally activate, sucking the life from the now millions it enthralled, sending a surge of power deep within the planet, awakening the sleeping tomb world below. Woo!
Way to leave us there with the awakening of the Necron there.
I mean, the best ending for sure, of course.
Yeah, very, very grimdark.
I was thinking, like, at the start it was giving me Pariah Nexus vibes, and then, like, dropping the Necrons at the end was, like, a perfect, like, circle for it.
Yeah, just the right amount of hints where we all know what was going to happen eventually. But yeah. I like the name of the chapter, the Dark Watch. At first, I had to do like a control find and see if he typoed that or if I typoed that in there on my copy and paste or something. But no, I like how it kind of was this Death Watch chapter or squad that goes on a mission and then ends up founding its own chapter called the Dark Watch. The leader of that was a Black Templar. So we know there's Black Templar gene seed in this chapter. Do you guys think they'd try to like consolidate gene seed where it's like, okay, thankfully the squad only had Imperial Fist gene seed lineage in it, so this chapter technically is just, that lineage, or
It's an interesting idea to look at it. I mean, some chapters may look for the purity of having the Imperial Fist gene seed all the way through. So it could be an interesting angle.
All of a sudden things get weird if there's a Space Wolf in that squad and you start using that Space Wolf's gene seed in this chapter. And all of a sudden now you're talking about, okay, do we need to talk the Canis Helix and the Cup of the Wolfen? Do we need to get all this now involved? Like it can get a little messy.
And then you're talking about chimeric gene seed, which the Imperium doesn't exactly smile upon for sure.
Yeah, and you could do it that way too. Like, yeah, where you slap together a bunch into one and make like a monstrosity gene seed.
I think there was one Alpha Primus who technically did have like every gene seed in him because he was like the first Primaris Marine from Call's experiments, but he lives in constant pain as a result of it.
Huh.
So
yeah.
But I was also thinking the apothecary Angelo, that made me think Blood Angels for some reason. Maybe because of like the angel in the name, or that's just me though.
Yeah. See, and then
I would say it seems like a name you would sort of expect from the Blood Angels, that sort of like angelic basis, like sort of like from like early Christianity. That's like the sort of names that you'd expect to see on like your saints and your angels and stuff like that.
And then he has the word cantorus, which maybe is like, I Googled if that meant anything. It said maybe it's a misspelling of cantorteratius. What the fuck? I'll put it in the chat there. But it basically means having a bad temper or being annoyed. So another very kind of blood angel name, meaning, that black rage, that temper. Cantankerous? What is this word in there?
Cantankerous?
The fuck. But I think I would like a little bit of like clarification on just the end there. Either it's just one quick little line where it's like this squad was made of all Ultramarines lineage, or like what gene seed line did you eventually go with? Did you go the chimeric route? Which to me, like, man, that always fucking blows. It's a real piss off when people do that. But yeah, truth's bone, I suppose.
It's a very much a cause for being classified as a renegade chapter as well. If the Inquisition don't like you.
Yeah, man. To me, if I was an Inquisitor, that would be enough. Wait, what? You're mixing gene seed together? Like, no. You guys shouldn't be doing that. Like, not only is it heresy, but also like we don't want you to get out of control. Like, you guys can't start messing around. You can't start making the codex bigger numbers. There's things you can't just do.
Oh yeah.
But either way, fun story. It's a cool way to found a chapter. Like I said, just that touch of what gene seed did we end up going with here. But I guess maybe another quick thought about that is just even like, man, when it comes to like recruitment of candidates to become like, the reason why some chapters do specific rituals is because it helps them like tie to that gene seed better or connect or whatever. So yeah, you just really need to have a bunch of things line up for that to actually work out nicely sometimes.
Yes.
There's only one other. Go ahead, Luke.
No, go on. I was going to say, it's one of those things that it's been touched on before, that sometimes you write too much, but I think this is a case of it's a specific detail where you need that extra detail to flush it out so that people are like, that makes sense, instead of leaving them like, what's going on here? Heresy?
Yeah. Heresy going on here? Yeah. Cool. Well, fun story. That was written by Kyle. Thank you for sending it in. Yeah. Tell me more about the Dark Watch. Give me a part 2. Write in a part 2.
I'd be interested to hear more.
The next story we have is called Sun Killer, and it's by Christopher. And Loop, you're going to read that for us.
Okay, Sun Killer. Signal activate audio and visual playback of recording 005. Enable haptic feedback and administrate double the full dosage endorphin infusion. The ancient Marine reclined in his seat and interfaced his body with injection ports lining in the back of his chair. He then pulled an older Mark III power armor helmet down over his head. The green lights flickered to life, contrasting the chipped purple coating of the helmet. The heads-up display traced a rough outline around his vision, and his biometric readings flickered in the corner of the screen. Yes, my lord, a decrepit caricature of a tech priest wheezed out in response. One of many servo arms clanked away on a keyboard. Dozens of tiny metal fingertips entered lines of code just as she had done countless times before. Once her job was done, she inched out of the room, her failing mechanical body contracting and expanding like a caterpillar. The door sealed behind her just as the program began to run through the helmet. The Marine's vision went black just for a moment before the video played. The Marine is looking up at an orange sky. Perched atop his right shoulder is a massive laser cannon taking up most of his vision. The audio is a garbled mess of explosions and gunfire, distant but ever present. 200 meters below him, a battle rages on in a barren desert canyon. He surveys the sky. Then out on the horizon, he spies his target, an alien aircraft of unknown origin. Sitting there in the chair, he remembers an uncontrollable smirk on his face at that moment. Overlapping the aircraft and the reticle in his sight, he prepares to fire. Numbers flash on the glass of the optic just to the left of his crosshair, calculating the range and the speed of the target. He pays them no mind, mentally blocking them out of view. He already knows just what to do. Taking a deep breath, he leads the target, the scope running the numbers the whole time. With his hands steady as the marble statue of his Primarch on Terra, he waits in delicious anticipation. The scope counts and flashes the distance of the rapidly approaching craft, 800 meters, 700 meters, 600 meters. The bomber dives, picking up speed and nearing a column of tanks, 400, 300, 200. He finally pulls the trigger just as the bomber clears the 100-meter mark. A white-hot beam of light clears the distance in the blink of an eye. The pilot's nervous system doesn't even have time to register its own death. A rush of adrenaline and euphoria surged through the Marine. Gritting his teeth, he choked out a quite clear cheer to himself. While rocking anxiously in the chair, the aircraft spirals out of control and hits the ground, detonating a safe distance away from his brothers in the tanks. Then, through the chaos of the battle, a voice cuts out into his helmet as clear as day. "Good shot, Cardius." He turns to see a second Marine, clad in gleaming purple and gold armor, with a plumage of feathers atop of his helmet. He's reaching out a hand in congratulations, while casually holding a pair of high-powered binoculars in his hand. The pair share a nod and a short handshake. "Only 38 more kills until we're tied, assuming I don't continue to outpace you." "Worry not, brother. I intend to take my rightful spot as Novator before we finally purge the planet. Now ready your weapon. We've more trophies in this gorge." The squad leader picked up his laser cannon and delivered an order to the rest of the Marines on the ridge. Cardius spared a glance back at the other Marines of his squad. He remembered their faces, their achievements, and their deaths. He could not remember their names, however. With one final look back to the battle, the recording stops, leaving Cardius's ears ringing, heart racing, and hands clenched. Without the audio, there is no sound in the room except the soft echo of his labored breaths. He lingered in it for as long as he could bear, attempting to soak up all the remaining adrenaline, but just like every other feeling in his prolonged life, too much quickly fades away into nothing. Numb and drained, he slowly pulls off the helmet. With a metallic clang, it dropped and rolled away to the floor. Hydraulics hissed and let off steam while the hormone injectors disengaged. He dragged himself off the chair and staggered to a broken mirror, vision blurry and lightheaded. Looking in the mirror, he saw his shaven face, chiseled from the very stones of his home world, Gamos. However, this image fades after he blinks away the grogginess, leaving behind the scarred and wrinkled face of a man past his prime. His once beautiful jade eyes had dulled to little more than grey, with fleeting wisps of the original green. The deep pits of his cheeks looked wrong. He barely recognized the man in the mirror. He wanted to be angry. He wanted to rip the shards of glass from the frame and go berserk. He imagined painting a masterpiece in blood of the slaves working in the bowels of the ship. None of this helped. Try as he might, he couldn't bring himself to do anything close to his ideas. For the last 4 centuries, he has only felt numb. With a defeated sigh, he collected his helmet and set out for the flight deck, because even in his current state, he had a duty to fulfill. The crew needed their Novator.
Cool. Cool little short story. So this is about the Emperor's children, actually. It didn't say it, but they give you a couple little keywords like the purple arm. Yeah. Chemios is their home world. You know, there's a couple little details that point to that. It's a cool little story. I like this little like narrative, like 800 meters, 700 meters, and then you say something in between. You know, build the suspense a little bit of things are building. Yeah, fun touch. 38 kills. That's a lot of kills with a las cannon. They're just shooting out vehicles from the sky. It's a good time.
And that was like a 38 kill difference between the two.
Oh yeah, that's a difference.
Like, that was the difference between their kills. So they're just sat there like shooting down aircraft as if they're like howler monkeys or something.
I love that. Just
see, the Emperor's Children isn't all just sex, drugs, rock and roll. There's just over excess and competition.
Yeah.
You got to get the pride in there somewhere.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Sun Killer. Was Sun Killer kind of the name of like his las cannon then?
That was the only thing that like I was like while I was reading it, I was like, so where's the reference to a sun killer?
Yeah, exactly. Like, cool name for las cannon, but fuck.
I mean, I don't think it helps that like I said to you earlier, I'm listening to the end and the death, and it's like, is it like every 5 chapters or something? Somebody says it. And it's like, so it's like ingrained in my head now that like sometimes the titles of like Warhammer stories must be in there somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they should be.
It's like the going thing.
Cool. Well, thank you. That story was written by Christopher. Thanks for sharing. Nice, simple. You must be playing some 30K Emperor's Children, and that's like your little bit of lore for them. Very cool. Nice and simple. All right. The next one up is I think I'll save the title for the end. But I'll just get into it, I think. The sisters' bolt gun thundered again and again, each shot halting the charge of a demon. Yet the horde seemed without end. For every foul creature she sent wailing back into the immaterium, another stepped into its place, splashing through the remains of its fallen kin. Step by step, she was driven back until her back was against a cold metal. She slammed her fist against the door's release button, but was only greeted with groans of dying machinery. There would be no escape this time. She dropped her bolt gun and drew her blessed blade, its powerful golden glow halting the demonic horde in its tracks for a moment, their vile voices falling still. It was then that he came. He had never seen more beastly as he chopped his way through the ceiling, but she felt something else stirring inside her. He was a beast, an inhuman being that she should revile, yet he had come to rescue her. The demons fell back before the blade of his choppa, and she joined him. The demons fell before them as they fought in one fervent combat. What had once seemed like an innumerable horde now could not withstand their combined might. She didn't know how long it took, but it felt like just one glorious moment. Soon, they were the only ones left standing, their enemies slain at their feet. The orc looked down at her, and she saw something flicker in his eyes. He reached out, his huge hand gently touching the side of her face. She shivered, not with revulsion, but now with the desire for the forbidden. Her blade clattered to the floor as he reached up to grasp his long fangs. She used them to draw his sacred but beautiful face down to hers. They fell together into an eternal moment of their armor falling. Hey, what are you doing in your bunk? You've been on duty for 5 minutes. I jerked my hand from underneath the blanket and looked guiltily toward the door. Sergeant Sinup was standing there, knowing a smirk on his face. Sorry, sir, I said, my voice sounding hoarse to my ears. I don't care, guardsman. You can read your books in your own time. Just make sure you're presentable and not late for your shift. Yes, sir. Just give me a minute. I just need to, just give me one more minute. And That's a classic switcheroo. That story, I loved it. Lore written by Sam. Thank you so much. I read that the first time and just laughed and laughed. Holy fuck.
you
guys have
Don't
been
you
caught
know?
with your hand on your pickle before? I thank God have never. I had brothers. They never once caught me. I'm sure it could have happened. But yikes. No deep confessions either of you boys want to talk about here?
Nope.
Okay.
I've always had a lock
40K.
on my bedroom door, so I'm fine.
Oh man, classic. One of the things, honestly, I do love about 40K is the humor of it. And like, this doesn't seem like it could fit into 40K, but it does. It's got that humorous vibe. Like, it's got you going, and then all of a sudden you're like, wait, what's happening? And then all of a sudden it's a dream. But you got to hand check while you're reading it. So that's the only thing.
Just in case.
Yeah, seriously, that's calling the hand check. That's so funny.
You're not having me this time, Slanesh, and you never will.
Not this time, Slanesh. Yeah, fuck. Well, I love doing listener lawyers. People are such good writers and just so creative to see how people come up with sharing their own lore.
Even the heretical ones are just hilarious to read.
Yeah, man.
Like,
time went into this, and it shows.
Right?
Oh, man.
Sometimes, like, with some of them, it makes me wonder where people's head were when they started writing it. And then, like, because I know from myself from writing, I've been in like some sort of mood when I've started writing it, and then like I've gone back to finish it. And I'm like, what the hell have I written here? Like,
oh man,
did I just want to burn the planet yesterday, or
Yeah. You read something so grim, dark. You're like, oh, not for the light of day. That one can stay in the journal.
Yeah.
Cool.
If it makes anybody feel any better, my very first venture into writing 40K was a justification for why the Imperium will play chess with itself. So,
I mean, that's what regicide is, right? So,
exactly.
They're kind of already there. You don't need to justify it.
Yeah. But why would people actually play regicide like Wizard's Chess from Harry Potter with living pieces? So I created a Zinch story around it.
Wait, was that you who made the whole chessboard too?
Yeah, that was me.
Oh, that was fucking cool. Okay, cool.
Nice.
Yeah, you should post some pictures of that. That was very, very well done.
Yeah, very first ever minis, very first ever Warhammer lore. So
cool. Yeah. We did. I don't remember what episode that was on the Listener Lore podcast, but we definitely shared what you wrote there.
It was 98, I think.
98. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What's it called, just so people can find it if they do you remember?
The Great Game ... of Regicide.
I like it.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, I've been writing lore, not as much, but in the same way, I'm always writing for Lore Hammers. So it's different because I'm not writing like homebrew lore. I don't really get to flex my creative muscle. I'm mostly just like, okay, they worded it this way, I'm gonna word it this way and say the exact same thing. It's essentially all I'm kind of bringing to the table. But writing your own kind of stuff and like, yeah. I know every time I try to do like either a hobby project or creating writing project, I try to do it from a different approach. Like for the longest time, would always write, we mentioned that Wikipedia style format.
Yeah.
I did my Astrocrotas, and the last kind of homebrew I wrote was a first person story for the Astrocrota. And that was pretty cool. Like just trying to flex and do like a different way.
I like the way they're doing the Silver Templar lore in the Combat Patrol magazine. So it's a first-person perspective in a way, but it's a captain telling the story of another squad to neovitiates. So it like drops between first and third person, like when he's speaking like himself to when he's speaking about them.
Yeah.
Which they're one of my newer favorite chapters, to be fair, and it's because of the way this has been done, and this is like something that GW has put together themselves for it.
So you just full on bought straight into the propaganda. Hey, this one
Kinda, yeah.
better. It's like, hey, check out this cool story about my brothers. It tells you a cool story. Like, fuck
Pretty
yes,
much. Well, it's basically explaining to the novitiates about how like everyone in the chapter is bonded to their weapon's spirit, and is basically giving them an example story of when one of the squads went out to fight Tyranids. They got attacked, and one of I think it was the captain's weapon, fell from the landing craft. I can't remember the name of it right. So he basically had a choice to save his brother or his weapon. And the way that the Silver Templars are, either one's just as devastating. So after like they landed, they then went out to find this weapon.
That's cool. Yeah. No brother or weapon left behind.
Yeah, and I full on bought into that propaganda of if I'm gonna like seriously do a loyalist army, it's probably gonna be them.
Okay. Yeah, I honestly don't know much about them, but they sound cool just off that little bit. Like, one of the things I like about like Wikipedia style entries or just like little lore blurbs as opposed to like big novels is it makes everything feel more epic in a Wikipedia style entry. You can talk about this blessed bolter and how it's been passed down from generation to generation. But then as you start to get into like the actual logistics of that, if you start writing a novel about that, it gets a little clunky. It feels a little like now you start to have to start to suspend some disbelief as opposed to like that propaganda version that Black Templar is telling us,
Mm-hmm. It creates a different way that you got to look at it, because when you're doing like that Lexicanum style article, you have that like impersonal freedom to just, here are the facts about all of this. And so for those that want, like, I want to know exactly what Rowboat Girly Man did on a Tuesday night with Yvrain, well, there you go. Here's Lexicanum article for it. But when you're making like a story or a novel off of it, you got to have to put emotion into it. You got to put, make the characters actually do good and or bad things so you can feel something while you're reading it. So
yeah. A lot of times I'll kind of read like a Lexicanum article based off a novel or whatever, and it just doesn't make like any sense. Like, you're like, how did this get from here to here? But without reading that book, you'll never fucking know.
Yeah.
Throwing a little plot twist, Well, we got some call-ins. Jax is just fanging here.
Is this still clawing at the door?
Yeah, he's been waiting since last night in here.
Clawing at the door.
Yeah. Little Space Wolf Codex there you got.
Yeah. Those intrusive purchases you get when you look at the box 1 second, you're like, I really want that.
Ooh, yeah.
Yep.
Fuck.
Yep.
Yeah.
It goes $180.
I mean, I got that like on 6 months before the pre-order drop for the Emperor's Children, so I know exactly what you mean.
Having bought the Space Wolf box myself, tears.
Oh man, he was so young, so supple. We lost another one. Plastic crack on another. Are you gonna paint them up as Space Wolves? Do you have a specific the 13 companies? Do you want to do one specifically, or any lore you can give us? Any homebrew?
I'm thinking of making them into my own successor chapter called the Abyss Riders, where they're actual Vikings cool. And actually like explore and trade and do stuff Vikings would do.
That's kind of cool. Yeah. Okay, so do we go renegade with this chapter, or are they loyalists?
I'd say loyalists. They're just like, oh yeah, the God Emperor, grandpa.
The God Emperor wants me to steal all your women and take them back to our planet for gene seed reproduction of our own people. It's
Exactly.
fine. We'll also burn down your churches.
Raise
sounds like a
monasteries,
fucking-
if you will.
Yeah, no, I love it. I love taking historical things and like throwing them in 40K. And what's that gonna look like? Yeah. How do they feel about psychers?
They're not psychers. They're priests. They're rune priests.
First of all, listen.
The coping and seething, as you do.
Yeah. I like it. It was interesting for the longest time. We weren't really allowed to make Space Wolf chapters. For some reason, they like kind of maybe it was an off thought very early on where they're like, oh, the Space Wolves only have one successor chapter, and they kind of fell to chaos and was purged or something like that. And then for the longest time, we didn't get any. Now with the Primaris Gene Seed, we kind of get the Space Wolf successors, which is nice. Same with the Salamanders as well.
Yeah. It's always cool to see, like, you don't have to follow this strict piece of lore where it's like, all Space Wolves are this, that, and furries. You could be, oh, mine are completely different.
It's like you-
Yeah, so you're going for like furries and thieves.
It's like you listened to our Space Wolf Faction Fix episode and took notes on it. Holy crap.
Ooh, yeah.
A whole page of notes.
Nice. Yeah, I do like that. You know, that's very close to like the 30K vibe of them. But you're leaning a little more heavy, almost like, you know, the spacefaring, the boating, and a little more of that starfaring fleet-based chapter vibe, you know.
Some or oh, sorry.
Do they have any special like ceremonies or rites or like what's their are they draping themselves in the pelts as well, you know?
I'm writing some lore, but I was thinking of their main like faction enemy are the Necrons, more specifically the Void Dragon. And maybe I'll do this whole overarching like tabletop, like they try hunting down a Void Dragon. And if they could kill it, like this will be like their saga.
Okay. Yeah. So what did this Void Dragon do to incur their wrath?
It stole a gold statue before they did.
God damn it, we cannot allow it. Yeah.
Like, that's my church to ransack.
Hey, those are my women to. Anyways, yeah, that sounds kind of fun. I do like that chapter idea for sure. The Void Dragon, slipping that in there, you definitely need to come up with a reason why.
Should I hit the nail on the head or be as blunt as a hammer and be like, okay, the main character, his name is Beowulf.
Yeah,
Connection there.
maybe add anus on the end of it just so it's a little more 40K-ish, Beowulf anus, you know? But then, yeah, I think you're fucking right on the right track, hitting the nail on the head with the power maul.
You could also go with the fact that they are convinced it's an actual dragon,
Yeah.
and that's why they're going to slay it, and they don't understand that it's like some star god or a fraction of a star god. So they are literally like hunting for a dragon and like looking for like traces of like its habitat and like where it's tried to nest and stuff. And you could go so zany but so serious with it at the same time.
I was getting the vibe of like mythological Thor hunting for Jormungandr.
Yeah,
the world serpent. So
Okay, yeah. Now that's the tie-in that I needed to be on board with this fully. Yeah. Now we've just gone full faction ripoff, and if that's not what it's all about,
Yeah.
what is it?
That's
you know?
40K.
That's 40K.
it's okay if they steal from themselves because that's what their Space Wolves were all about, anyways. So
yeah. How do you like it, Space Wolves? Now you're the cheap knockoff, and fucking tight. Was there ever like one army any of you guys wanted to do, just never could, like either financially or it never existed model wise, or just for whatever which reason?
Well, it used to be 1,000 Suns, but
Oh God, the plastic crack is strong in him, flows in his veins. It's in his balls. I know that. I've been told that from the news radio shows that plastic has in fact made it to Jax's balls. But
I mean, I've only really been like into the tabletop side of 40k like 6 months, so I can't really say no because everything I've wanted I've pretty much bought so far,
yes,
or it's on a list to buy.
you're in the dream. I'm happy for you. That's the right answer for sure.
It was like, I don't know, listening to Lawhammer religiously for 3 months kind of like pushed me over the edge that I was like, do I wanna, do I not? Mark's been talking about Knights for 600 episodes.
Yes. Just buy one.
And then the definite pushover point on that one was read. I was actually looking into like the Knights of the Titans after an episode. I was like, Side Titans? Like,
Titans.
this is cool as shit. Like a Titan that's like has psionic weapons so powerful that the only way to power it is with a blank. Otherwise, it'd rip your soul in two. It's like, this is definitely where I want to
see
be.
some science and number crunching for this, math and calculations here.
Right? the engineering
pretty gay though.
was
Grounded
not
and
things
realistic
like that.
setting.
Yeah. Very cool. Gerald, do you have your
Mine's kind of similar to Loop's in that like the main 4 factions I want, I either have or I'm currently in the process of buying, and that includes the dwarf factions from AOS and Old World. I have a problem, I freely admit, but I guess the one faction I kind of resisted to actually buy from was Space Wolves. Whoa, there went my light. My light busted.
No!
And that was purely because when I entered the hobby and Lorehammer, like the Space Wolf hate was at an all-time high. So like, even though yes, I do kind of like them, I didn't want to give into that and then just fall prey to the hate. So I'm just like, I'll just keep my like of them quiet, not collect them or anything. But then with this reset, with this box, I'm just like, I'm going full bore into it.
Yeah. So you can collect whatever you want. You might just be a faggot if you do. And it's not a big deal, I've been told. But yeah, no. It's all just jokes, honestly. Like I'll collect fucking any army. The Space Wolves, I've had with my Liber Malleus, I actually ordered 2 boxes of Space Wolf Terminators, the old style, just to have a couple more weapons, some fur pelts, and definitely want to put like that wolf skull draped on a Liber Malleus guy. They're useful bits, man. I've used them many times, many times.
Okay, a little side tangent, but when the Lehman Russ episode comes along, you better give them so much shit.
I think it's already done. I was on vacation for those episodes.
Yeah,
I didn't even have to do...
Space Wolves was already done, dude.
Yeah.
Oh wait. Well, specifically Lehman Russ when he rolls around with the Primarchs.
You gotta go back to grade school, my son. Get back to counting Primarch numbers.
Brother.
Which one's which?
Brother, it's already been done. Like it was
Legion.
Oh my god,
Space Wolves,
idiot!
Russ and the Space Wolves all done. They're done.
Matt took like a week off, so he didn't have to do Space Wolves. And conveniently, like even though I put my name down for like episodes months in advance, I only had to do one. And it wasn't the Lehman Russ episode, so I was happy.
Forgive me. Forgive me, please.
Because my dislike of Space Wolves pure and simply comes from before I got into 40k. One of my friends was a Lehman Russ fanboy. And then getting into
Lehman Russ's butthole and telling you about it. Like that kind of,
pretty much. Then so into 40k, I was like, this guy seems like the biggest asshole ever. I don't like him. Fuck this guy. No. Fuck him and his little sons. Go away. Go sniff some trees.
Ursat says Jax's fandom is on the edge right now for his heresies. Yeah, they're pissed. They're fucking pissed.
I didn't know I had a fandom, but
Yeah, like fandom.
You had like half the Discord named after you. What do you mean you don't have a fandom?
well,
Oh man, that's funny.
to be fair, that was mostly Bojack's fault in the form of his master plan to get me to be Alfarius in the lore helper heresy.
I hope it worked. So,
I mean, he does claim to hail Chaos Undivided, and he is pretty much covering all bases at this point.
pretty much.
He's sexually harasses Gerald for the Soneshi part of it. It's just his normal self, the Nurgle side of it. His little rage quits about certain tanks cause corn. He's got all bases covered. He's good. He is good for Chaos Undivided, surprisingly.
He needs to be the Abaddon.
No.
Warhammer Heresy.
Jeez, we don't need that. I got enough on my plate. We don't need the Lorehammer heresies.
Oh man.
Yeah, no, it'd be fun. I know you guys talk about the Lore Helper heresy all the time, and things get said. Where are we at with that heresy? How far along? How many sides are there? You know, are they taking shape? Read through that document that you have, Gerald.
I have. Okay, give me a second. Let me pull it up. I have a list in the making of who's who. And then I wrote an intro script, which is basically, a teaser script, which is essentially almost word for word recreation of the Horus Heresy trailer, but as told by Christian or Jordan. And
maybe we save that script for later, I think, for them.
We're gonna I'm just, y'all know that it exists, but we'll create that project at some point. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's the actual who's who. Okay, Mark, God Emperor, duh. Malkador, Eric, honored be his name.
Lionel... No, he burnt out in the first 100 episodes, and now it's just dust in the wind.
Exactly. Okay, Lionel Johnson, Trevor Buzak.
Yeah. He's my boy. You know, he should be the one. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Fulgrim, Bobby Jack.
Yeah, that one makes sense. I love that guy on the show. Sometimes he just it's just outlandish, I think. I don't know if he's like a real human is the thing.
He's just an AI I created 6 months ago.
Maybe. Like, it's like sometimes you start something really deep and then it ends up so like, well, that's not intelligent, but I like it.
He's the first true AI who rewrote his code just so he could sexually harass Gerald.
Oh man.
I already got Toasty and Big Joe on me about that. I don't need a third one.
So funny. Gerald, good news. Lorehammer bought you your very own sex bot, Bobby Jack. We're shipping it to you tomorrow.
Thanks. God, Emperor, help me. Perturabo, I have James. I don't know how that got there, but if you think that fits, then that fits. Jagatai Khan is Icarus, or Ikathai Khan, or whatever he's called in the Discord now. Lehman Russ is Luke. Am I saying that right? Luke? No. Hydra Thoughts. Me, Rogel Dorn.
Okay.
Mark made some. I was going to be Russ for a long time, but Mark made some pretty compelling arguments. So.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a controversial.
Yeah,
Conrad
I definitely. I did the same with the Liber Malleus. I'm like, let's make Gerald my right-hand man in this one. Boop.
All right.
Someone we can rely on.
Yeah.
Say that schmuck. All right, controversial one. Conrad Kurz. I'm sorry, but with your collection of teeth, Court, you have been selected for this position.
Yeah. I think so, because it's just fucking weird, man. It's just like, oh, so you got a skin belt, do you, Court? Oh, so you got teeth. Like, it's the same vibe.
Right?
He could also double play as Gazku Margaret Thraka with his collection of tape. So, all right, I got Grim as Sanguinius, and again, listeners, this list is subject to change. So, I got Jono as Ferris Manus, everybody's favorite lad from Down Under.
I bet he will be. I bet Ferris Manus will get a very compelling and long story in 40K.
Let's see here. I got Jordan as Angron. I'm can't decide between him and Christian as Angron or Horus. So we'll figure that out when we get to it. Rowboat Girly Man is our favorite Irishman Rambo.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
I got Big Joe G as Mortarian, but I might make that change to Smeltarian in the Discord.
Yeah. A lot of these are lore helpers, so a lot of them are names that a lot of people probably never heard, but some of them, they're hitting right for
either
sure.
That or Tithe members.
Yeah, I feel like anytime I see Big Joe G talk, it's always like Frank from Always Sunny meme, essentially. Just doing yeah, Mortarion checks out.
All right. I got Magnus the Red as Rayway because when I first met him, it was all Thousand Sun fanboy, all anti-Primaris, all anti-Space Wolf. I thought we were going to hate each other when we started out, and yet now we're hosting Grimlore together. So
yeah, and if you listen to the Grimlore, he's got a bit of the tisms. So yeah, Magnus for sure checks out. He's got that knowledge.
All right. I have, again, back to the Christian and Jordan. I have Christian as Horus because best friends with Mark. And then leading a heresy and splitting off and doing Star Lores. So
yeah,
that's what I got. That's what I got.
Yeah,
I'm just
reading
the IRL lore into this. So
yeah.
And then go ahead.
No, go for it.
Okay. Lorgar, everyone's favorite Primarch to punch on.
Yeah, who started all this?
I'm sorry, Ursats, but for some reason you really wanted this. So
I think
I don't know
he's
why,
like one of the big pushers, or what? What's the deal? Or is that a Jax thing? I know you've been saying the lore helper heresy for a while too, Jax.
Well, to be fair, Lorgar is a little bitch, and I'm only partially a little bitch.
Only half bitch.
I knew that was coming somewhere.
That's so funny.
Ursat says, I choose to go down this path. So,
what a guy. What a nice guy you are, Ursat.
We love you, Ursat. All right.
You have to have one of them.
I got Fuzz as Vulcan. That makes sense. Very nice, huggable dude.
Blacksmith as well. So check.
And he's an actual blacksmith IRL. So
sure.
Corvus Corax. I got a Dark Melon because they were the only person that specifically came up and said they wanted to be Corax, but no one else took it. So
interesting. Okay. Getting to the last couple ones. Who's next?
Yeah, Alpharius and Omegon. Well, we have Alpharius right here. So
that's where you fit in all of this, eh?
We just need to find his twin.
I have my twin.
I do have some side characters. Luke volunteered to be Abaddon. So which sure fits.
Sure.
We got Leonidas volunteering to be Constantine Valdor, the Captain General of the Custodes.
I'm gonna need like a fucking 500-word essay on why you think you deserve that. Really,
I think like half of us who have been assigned a character need to do like an essay on why we think this fits.
Yeah, that's fair. You may be onto something there, Gerald. But
yeah, let's see here. Toasty's kind of wormed his way into being Karn. And if anybody knows the guy personally, he is a big World Eaters fan. I would hate to see what he would do if I didn't give him a World Eater part. And then for Spaghetti Seth, our dear Spaghetti Seth, he really wants to be Kurz so bad. You're Lucius, buddy.
The annoying one that won't go away.
We love Seth. What do you mean?
I was talking about Lucius, not Seth.
Okay.
Let me toss up an alternative for young Seth there. Since he wants to be
Alright.
Cruz so bad, what about being stitched onto Cruz's flesh cape? What about that? Can that be his fate?
Oh, the
Little
paint
flesh
was
cape,
Spaghetti
cape.
Seth's avatar.
Okay. Well, let's see what Seth thinks about it.
Yeah. Well, that's my suggestion for the young chapper whippersnapper. Yeah, I don't know what any of this lore helper heresy means. You know, sometimes you come up with a title and you're like, well, let's work towards whatever the fuck that is. And I think that's what we're up to now, essentially.
Basically.
You know, maybe it will be the end of me. You guys will just boot me from my own show and take over. Who knows? I don't fucking know. You've already upended the Liber Malleus. Like I don't know. I'm not in control here.
Maybe it's just the forward plan for how we take over the internet.
Oh man, fuck. Well, I'm not gonna be able to defeat that.
Once this is all over, your next live stream appearance, you need to have like a replica of the Golden Throne to just sit on and observe.
Yeah, no, I don't
Spray
need
paint
that in
shared
my
gold.
life. No, I'm like out in Panama. I need like a nice like wicker rocking chair that I can look out on the ocean and say stuff like "Get off my lawn" and yell at dolphins that swim past. I don't need to run no empire.
Just make sure to spray paint it gold then.
Okay,
The golden wicker chair.
Chair.
I can see it more being that's my tree, you dirty chimp, and you'd like
You
killing a
dirty
monkey.
chimp. You better run or I'll fucking catch you and eat you. Yeah. I'm surprised, honestly, the battery hasn't busted. You know, the one time I'm like, I think we can say that we did officially beat the battery this episode.
Oh yeah,
Hot twist, my battery is the one that busted.
Yeah. You popped out
and
for a
you like.
second. Here's some questions for you guys. What other kind of, and maybe this is for just the people in the chat too. What other kind of battery busts are we into? Any specific topics? I had a couple in my mind I'll run past you. I was thinking about doing like a behind the scenes Lorehammer 1 where it's like what goes into actually producing this? Like who edits episodes? Like Loop, you're one of my editors. You know, there's a lot that goes into this show. So you know, do a little behind the scenes. I was thinking about doing like a European version, you know, time zones. If it's sunny, I can record. So, you know, get somebody from the old UK time zone. Yeah, no, I wrote them down, but my pen and paper aren't beside me, so I forgot the rest.
I mean, with the behind the scenes episode, we'd have to be cautious about what we put on because I don't. It's not so much content. I just don't think people want to see like me sat there like removing like 20,000 5-second long pauses from an episode. You know what I mean?
No, they don't want that. No, I was thinking more just me talking about it.
Yeah, like the process.
Yeah, the process. Oh man, the editing is honestly the fucking worst. I can't even, man. Gerald, yeah, you edit a lot for Grimlore, and just like,
and I do stuff like sound effects and like background music and everything, and that's a nightmare.
Yeah, I can't imagine, man. You know, people ask me about a YouTube channel or like a podcast or whatever. They want to start one up, and usually my first question to them is like, "Do you like editing?" Because that's what podcasts
you're gonna struggle.
Yeah, you're not gonna make it because that's what it is. Or you got to have a little money to throw at somebody or something, or you just got to have a good fucking fan base. I got lucky and I fell into that category.
I had a similar discussion with a couple of people in Discord the other day about this, that if you want to start a podcast from scratch and present the same quality that you do yourself through Lorehammer, then there's a lot to consider. Like, you do a hell of a lot of prep work that obviously we don't see that, but like I know that you're spending in hours and hours at a time just writing the script, even in the first
Look at my
place.
fingers, they're down to the nubs.
And then, like, even after that, there's like after the episode's done, which you got looking at like 2.5 hours recording there. Then we've got to wait for the platform to publish it, and then download it and edit it, re-upload it. Like, it's a whole process, and there's people that, yeah, they do fall unlucky when they grow and stuff like that. But there's also the point that if you want to grow from scratch, there's a lot in the process that you've got to go through to get there as well.
Yeah, and you got to do it for a long time. I always snicker, like, no offense to anyone up and coming people trying to start YouTube channels. I always snicker, man. Like, it's fucking not easy to make money, and it's, you know, I didn't cash a paycheck for like 5 years doing Lorehammer, and even then it was like, you know, yeah, it's one of those things, you know. That'd be it. See, this is the kind of thing I talk about in the behind the scenes episode, just a little bit of back end stuff, like just even like what programs do I use to record and stuff, all those kind of little nitty details that could be useful to somebody.
Hey, Luke, what do you use to edit the episodes?
I use Audacity, same as Jordan and Matt do. It's a relatively easy to use software that's been quite consistent through all of its versions. There are a lot of software out there that can overcomplicate the editing process far much more than you would ever actually need, especially with something that's like only going for an audio basis.
Yeah. One thing I like about Audacity is, like you said, it doesn't really change much. Where, I've used other programs, and every update, it's like you're learning a whole new fucking program, and it's like, man, I just want to go in, slap my episode together, and be done.
Like Adobe do a very similar program called Soundbooth, and some of they've stopped making it now because there's a lot of free versions of the same software that's out there that's a lot more simpler than they did. But like every update that came out, like all the navigation system would change, and like things would move around, and you'd never 100% know where you were between versions. And it'd be like every new update they brought out, you'd have to spend like 5 hours figuring out where all your buttons had gone and like resetting up the things that you needed. The one good thing about it was very easy to set macros up for it. So if you are editing like the same thing over and over again, like a very similar thing over and over again, you could use that to like cut off your end and cut off your start, so that like that's trimmed down and have it all like ready for you. But with the way computers have gone like recently, it's more plausible to update programs that are not pre-existingly set to do macros, because now it's more based on the operating system rather than the software itself.
And in a year, we'll just have AI do everything for us.
Yeah,
right?
Pretty much.
Yeah. Nice. I like that. Well, that's a job well done, I think. Cool little listener lores. If you have listener lore you guys want to submit, you can always submit it to lorehammerpodcast@gmail.com. I will eventually read it out. You know, you took the time to write it. I can take the time to read it, and then you can take the time to send me $1. I think that's a fair deal. Cool. Well, everyone on the panel, Lupercal, Jax, Gerald, thanks for joining.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah. I think we got, man, I should be getting my batteries tomorrow, honestly. There's been some protests in Panama, so my batteries, I'm watching them slowly creep across the country, getting stopped at blockade to blockade to blockade. I'm like, fucking kid. But, you know, we got a couple more battery bust episodes still, so hang tight, and we'll get back to the main show in no time. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Go support the Patreon, and adios. See you later.
Bye.